Have you ever noticed the more you try to explain yourself, the smaller you feel? And the moment you stop explaining, people suddenly start listening. Stay with me till the end, because the last lessons will truly change your perspective on silence, power, and inner strength. My dear friends, we live in a world where noise is celebrated. Everyone is speaking, everyone is posting, everyone is reacting, and somewhere in this chaos, you feel this urge to defend yourself. When someone misunderstands you, you want to clarify. When someone insults you, you want to respond. When someone attacks you, you want to fight back. Because silence feels weak, doesn't it? It feels like losing. It feels like surrender. But what if I told you, silence is not weakness? Silence is the loudest message you can send to your enemies. Today, I want to walk with you through 7 powerful lessons, steps on an inner journey, where you will discover how silence becomes strength, dignity, and spiritual power. And please, don't skip the last few lessons. If you miss them, you will regret it, because they contain the heart of this transformation. Have you ever noticed how exhausted you feel after an argument? Even if you won it, you walk away replaying every word in your mind. You think of better responses. Hours later, you justify your tone, you defend your intention, and somewhere inside, your peace has quietly packed its bags and left the room. Why does this happen? Because every reaction costs energy. Imagine your emotional energy like the battery percentage on your phone. You wake up in the morning at 100%, full optimism, full clarity, full strength. Then someone sends a passive-aggressive message. 10% gone, you scroll through social media and see someone subtly attacking you. 15% gone, you spend 40 minutes typing and deleting a response. Another 20% gone. By the time the day ends, you are at 5%, and the person who provoked you is peacefully eating dinner. Silence protects your energy. Most people think silence means suppression. No, suppression is when you swallow anger but keep burning inside. Silence, the kind I am speaking about, is conscious conservation. It is choosing where your emotional investment goes. There is a difference. When someone tries to pull you into negativity, what they are really asking for is your attention. And attention is currency. The more attention you give, the richer their ego becomes. But when you choose silence, you are saying, my energy is too precious to spend here. Let me share something personal. There was a time when I felt the need to respond to every criticism. If someone misunderstood me, I would feel restless until I explained myself. If someone judged me, I wanted to clarify immediately. But I realized something powerful. Explaining yourself repeatedly to those committed to misunderstanding you is like pouring water into a leaking bucket. No matter how much you pour, it will never be enough. Silence is not about losing your voice. It is about protecting your vitality. Think about nature for a moment. The sun does not argue with the clouds. It simply continues to shine. And when the clouds pass, its light is still there, unaffected, unchanged. Your silence works the same way. When you react to every insult, you allow others to control your emotional climate. They press a button and you respond. They say a word and you explode. They post something and you panic. Who has the power then? But when you refuse to react impulsively, something shifts. You are no longer available for emotional manipulation. That is strength. You see, not every battle deserves your participation. Some battles are distractions disguised as importance. The ego loves to feel significant. It responds, show them, prove yourself. But wisdom asks a better question. Is this worth my peace? Your peace is expensive. Don't give it away cheaply. Every time you choose silence instead of reaction, you preserve your focus. You preserve your clarity. You preserve your ability to invest energy where it truly matters, your growth, your family, your dreams, your purpose. And here is the irony: the person trying to provoke you actually loses interest when you stop reacting. Drama survives on fuel. Silence removes the fuel. Have you ever seen a fire without oxygen? It dies down. Silence is the removal of oxygen from conflict. And here is something even deeper. When you conserve your energy, you become more powerful in the long run. Instead of wasting hours replaying arguments in your mind, you invest those hours in becoming better. Instead of fighting emotionally, you are building silently. And growth always wins over noise. My dear friends, protecting your energy is not selfish. It is responsible. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lead with a restless heart. You cannot grow with a scattered mind. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause and ask yourself, is this worth my battery? Most of the time, it is not. Choose silence not because you are weak, but because you are wise. And remember this: the loudest message you can send to your enemies is not anger. It is indifference powered by inner strength. When you stop reacting, you start rising. And this is just the beginning of our journey. One of the clearest signs of emotional maturity is not how loudly you speak, but how calmly you stay quiet. Anyone can react. It requires no training, no awareness, no discipline, just impulse. But reflection, that requires growth. Have you ever seen a child when something doesn't go their way? Immediate reaction, tears, shouting, blame, drama. Now think of a wise elder. When something unpleasant happens, they pause, they observe, they respond only if necessary. What changed? Not the world, the person. Emotional maturity is the ability to feel everything, but not express everything. When someone insults you, your ego jumps up like a security guard and says, "How dare they?" And instantly, you feel heat rising in your chest. Your heart beats faster, words line up, ready to attack. In that moment, silence feels impossible. But that moment, that tiny space between stimulus and response, is where your power lives. If you react immediately, you prove that your emotions control you. If you pause, you prove that you control your emotions. And believe me, your enemies can sense the difference. People who try to provoke you expect drama. They expect noise. They expect a reaction because reaction validates their importance. But when you give them silence, something very uncomfortable happens. They are forced to sit with their own behavior. Silence becomes a mirror. Imagine throwing a ball against a wall. You expect it to bounce back. But what if the wall absorbs the impact? No echo, no return, just stillness. That stillness unsettles people. Because most conflicts are sustained by two egos feeding each other. When one ego steps away, the conflict loses balance. Silence does not mean you are hurt beyond repair. Silence does not mean you are defeated. Silence does not mean you are defeated. Silence means you have decided not to lower your emotional standards. Let me share something simple but powerful. There was once a situation where someone publicly criticized a person I deeply respected. Everyone around expected a dramatic response. People were waiting, watching, anticipating confrontation. But instead, that person smiled and said nothing. Days passed, weeks passed, and the truth quietly surfaced on its own. The critic lost credibility. The silent one gained respect. Why? Because emotional maturity is visible. It doesn't need advertisement. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary conflict, you send a silent message. I am not available for this level of conversation. And that message speaks volumes. Now, this does not mean you become passive in every situation. There are times to speak, there are times to stand up firmly. But maturity lies in choosing the right moment, not reacting to every moment. You see, immature people are controlled by circumstances. Mature people are guided by principles. If someone can disturb your peace with a sentence, your peace was fragile. But if someone throws negativity at why, but here's the funny thing, but here's the funny thing, but, 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 barouting during a storm, winds rage, rain pours, thunder roars. But the mountain does not argue with the storm. It simply stands. When you choose silence in the face of provocation, you become that mountain. People begin to realize that they cannot shake you easily. And when they cannot shake you, they lose interest in trying. Emotional maturity also protects your future. Words spoken in anger can damage relationship permanently. Messages sent in frustration can never be unsent. Reactions born from ego often lead to regret. Silence gives you time to cool down, time to think clearly, time to choose a response instead of an impulse. And sometimes after waiting, you realize no response is needed at all. That is growth. My dear friends, the strongest person in the room is not the loudest one. It is the one who can feel the storm inside and still choose calm. Silence is not absence. It is control. And when your enemies see that they cannot pull you down to their emotional level, they slowly begin to understand something powerful. You are no longer playing the same game, and this shifts everything. Are you ready to go deeper? Let me ask you something honestly. When two people are arguing, shouting, defending, attacking, who actually has control? Most people think the one speaking louder is in control. But look closely. The one who is reacting emotionally is being controlled. If someone can trigger your anger with a sentence, if they can disturb your peace with a comment, if they can change your mood with a post, then in that moment, they are holding the remote control of your emotions, and you have handed it to them. This is where silence becomes revolutionary. Silence says, you do not have access to my inner world. Imagine someone knocking aggressively on your door, loud, repeated, demanding attention. If you rush to open it, they know they can summon you anytime. But if you calmly continue your work inside without reacting, eventually the knocking slows, then stops. Not because they changed, but because they realize they have no power over you. Most conflicts survive on reaction. It is like a game of tug of war. As long as you keep pulling the rope, the game continues. The moment you drop the rope, the game collapses. Silence is dropping the rope. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Many people provoke not because they are strong, but because they feel powerless. When they see you growing, progressing, evolving, it unsettles them. So they try to drag you into emotional battles. If you step in, you lower yourself to the battlefield they chose. If you stay silent, you remain on higher ground. Power is not about dominating others. True power is about mastering your reactions. Let me tell you something simple. The ocean does not respond to every stone thrown into it. Stones sink, the ocean remains vast. When you react strongly to criticism, you show that the stone reached your core. But when you remain composed, the message is clear. I am deeper than your insult. This shifts the dynamic. Your enemies expect to see frustration. They expect to see agitation. They expect to see you defending yourself passionately. When you deny them that reaction, you deny them influence, and influence is what they truly want. Have you noticed how some people poke you repeatedly, almost testing you? They push boundaries, they make subtle remarks, they create small provocations, they make subtle remarks, they are measuring your emotional stability. The moment you explode, they know your breaking point. The moment you stay calm, they realize they cannot easily access your weaknesses. Silence protects your vulnerabilities. It also forces the other person to go confront themselves. When there is no reaction from you, their words echo back to them. They begin to hear their own negativity more clearly. Silence becomes a mirror, and mirrors can be uncomfortable. But let me be clear about something important. Silence is powerful only when it comes from confidence, not from fear. If you are silent because you are afraid, it feels heavy. If you are silent because you are centered, it feels strong. There is a difference in energy. When your silence comes from strength, it is calm, steady, unbothered. You are not suppressing emotion, you are choosing elevation. And elevation always confuses those who operate at lower levels of awareness. My dear friends, when you react, you shrink the gap between you and negativity. When you stay silent, you widen that gap, and distance changes perspective. You begin to see clearly. You realize that not every comment deserves your defense. Not every accusation deserves your time. Not every critic deserves your attention. And slowly, something beautiful happens. You become less reactive to noise and more responsive to purpose. When you stop fighting small battles, you gain strength for meaningful ones. When you stop engaging in ego wars, you create space for growth. And growth is the ultimate power move. Think about it. History remembers those who built, not those who argued. Success silences critics more effectively than words ever could. Success silences critics more effectively than words ever could. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. The one who reacts loses control. The one who remains silent owns it. Silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is dignity. It is quiet authority. And when you master this, you step into a different league altogether. Are you ready to move deeper into the journey? There was a time in my life when criticism disturbed me deeply. If someone misunderstood me, I would feel restless. If someone judged my eye, but here's the funny thing, intention, I would feel compelled to explain. If someone questioned my integrity, I wanted to defend myself immediately. Because somewhere inside, I believed that my character depended on other people's opinions. But then life taught me something humbling. Your character is not built by defending yourself. It is built by how you live when no one is clapping. You see, when someone criticizes you unfairly, your first instinct is to correct the narrative. Let me tell my side. Let me clarify. Let me set the record straight. And sometimes that is necessary, but often constantly explaining yourself weakens your presence. It signals insecurity. It signals that you are seeking validation. Silence, on the other hand, communicates confidence. Imagine a tall tree in a field. Dogs may bark at it, birds may sit on it, children may throw stones at it, but the tree does not respond to every disturbance. It simply continues to grow. And over time, what proves the strength of the tree? Not its reaction to barking, but its fruit. Fruit becomes evidence. In the same way, your consistency becomes proof of your character. People may misunderstand you today. They may doubt you tomorrow. They may question your motives next week. But if you keep showing up with integrity, if you keep doing the right thing even when it is inconvenient, if you keep serving, growing, improving, time becomes your witness. And time always reveals truth. Silence gives time space to work. There is something very powerful about not rushing to defend yourself. It shows that you trust your life more than your words. Let me ask you something. When someone over-explains every small thing about themselves, how do you feel? Slightly doubtful, isn't it? Because excessive defense creates suspicion. But when someone remains calm and steady, Despite accusations, it creates respect. Character speaks slowly. Ego speaks gently. When your ego feels attacked, it screams, "Protect me." When your character is strong, it whispers, "Stay steadiness." Silence strengthens that steadiness because every time you resist the urge to react impulsively, you reinforce discipline. Every time you allow your actions to speak instead of your anger, you strengthen your foundation. And foundations matter more than facades. Many people build their lives on image, how they are perceived, how they are praised, how they are defended. But image is fragile. It changes with opinion. Character is internal. It does not fluctuate with gossip. When you choose silence, you detach from the desperate need to be understood by everyone. And here is a liberating truth. Not everyone needs to understand you. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you. They have already decided the story they want to believe. Explaining yourself repeatedly to them is like writing on water. Instead, write your story with your life. Let your discipline speak. Let your kindness speak. Let your growth speak. Over time, even your enemies will quietly observe your consistency, and consistency builds credibility. Have you noticed something interesting? The people who shout the loudest about their greatness often feel the need to convince. But those who are genuinely strong do not need advertisement. Their presence is enough. Silence builds that presence. It builds depth. And depth creates impact. When you stop reacting to every rumor, every comment, every provocation, you free yourself to focus on something far more important, becoming better than you were yesterday. Because in the end, the goal is not to win arguments. The goal is to build a life so solid that arguments become irrelevant. Silence allows you to invest in that life. And slowly, something shifts inside you. You stop caring about temporary perceptions. You start caring about but temporary perceptions. You start caring about lasting values. You stop seeking approval. You start seeking alignment with your principles. That alignment is power. My dear friends, when your character is strong, you don't need to defend it constantly. When your integrity is consistent, you don't need to advertise it. Time will test you. Time will expose lies. Time will reward authenticity. And silence gives time the chance to work in your favor. So the next time someone questions you unfairly, ask yourself, is my life consistent enough to answer this over time? If the answer is yes, then breathe. Stay steady. Grow quietly. Because the strongest message you can send is this: I don't need to argue. My life will speak. And trust me, when your life begins to speak, even your enemies fall silent. Now, we are entering a deeper space. This lesson is not just psychological, it is spiritual. And if you truly understand this one, you will experience freedom. When someone hurts you, your ego wants justice immediately. It wants balance restored now. It wants the other person to feel what you felt. It wants to win. And in that moment, silence feels like injustice. You think, if I don't respond, they will think I am weak. If I don't defend myself, they will get away with it. If I stay silent, I lose. But here is something life teaches slowly. Not every injustice needs your intervention. Some battles belong to a higher system of balance. Silence, when chosen consciously, is an act of faith. It is saying, I trust that truth does not need my anger to survive. There is a difference between avoiding confrontation out of fear and stepping back out of trust. Fear says, I am powerless. Faith says, I am not the final authority here. When someone spreads negativity about you, you feel the urge to clear your name instantly, but often reacting emotionally entangles you further in the drama. It is like stepping into mud to prove you are clean. you only get dirtier. But when you step back, when you refuse to engage, when you allow time and truth to unfold naturally, something powerful happens. Reality begins to correct itself. Have you noticed that lies require maintenance? They need constant reinforcement. They need energy to survive. Truth, on the other hand, stands quietly. It does not panic. Silence aligns you with that quiet confidence. It says, I do not need to fight every rumor. I trust that what is real will endure. And this trust protects your inner peace. Because when you constantly fight to prove yourself, you live in anxiety. You live in defense mode. You live with a sword in your hand, ready for the next attack. That is exhausting. But when you trust that life has a way of balancing itself, you put the sword down. You breathe. You focus on your growth. And here is the beautiful irony. While others are busy attacking you, you are busy building yourself. Eventually, the contrast becomes visible. Their negativity becomes noise. Your progress becomes evidence. Silence is powerful because it reflects surrender, not to defeat, but to divine order. You are not responsible for controlling every opinion. You are responsible for controlling your actions. When someone wrongs you, you have two choices. You can allow their behavior to shape your emotional state, or you can choose to rise above it. Silence is rising. It is saying, I will not allow your actions to dictate my character. And that requires tremendous strength, because revenge feels satisfying in the short term. Responding sharply feels powerful in the moment. But long-term peace comes from restraint. You see, when you trust a higher justice, you are no longer obsessed with immediate outcomes. You understand that life is bigger than this moment, bigger than this conflict, bigger than this insult. And when you see that bigger picture, your reactions soften. You realize that sometimes the greatest victory is not proving someone wrong, but refusing to let them disturb your spirit. My dear friends, faith and silence walk together. Faith whispers, let go. Silence responds, I trust. And when you trust, you free yourself. You free yourself from the need to control narratives. You free yourself from the burden of revenge. You free yourself from the endless cycle of ego battles. Because here's the truth. When you fight every fight, you become tired. When you trust that not every fight is yours to fight, you become peaceful. Silence says, I choose peace over ego. And peace is strength. You don't lose when you stay silent in the face of provocation. You elevate. You step out of the arena of chaos and into the space of clarity. And slowly, something shifts inside you. You stop reacting out of insecurity. You start acting out of conviction. That conviction is unshakable. So the next time someone tries to harm your reputation, hurt your feelings, or attack your integrity, pause. Ask yourself, do I trust truth enough to remain calm? If the answer is yes, then breathe. Stay steady. Let life handle what you don't need to control. Because sometimes the loudest message you can send to your enemies is not anger. It is faith-backed silence. And that silence carries more power than any argument ever could. My dear friends, in the end, silence is not about defeating your enemies. It is about discovering yourself. When you stop reacting to every insult, you discover patience. When you stop defending every accusation, you discover confidence. When you stop fighting every battle, you discover faith. And faith changes everything. Because when you truly trust that truth will rise, you no longer feel the need to push it. When you truly trust that justice exists beyond your control, you no longer burn with revenge. When you truly trust that your worth does not depend on opinions, you stop chasing validation. Silence then becomes sacred. It becomes a quiet conversation between you and the divine. A whisper that says, I will do my part with integrity, and I trust you to handle the rest. Remember this: noise may win attention, but character wins time. Arguments may win moments, but patience wins destinies. The people who attack you are focused on your present, but God is focused on your future. So do not let temporary voices disturb your eternal journey. Walk with dignity, grow with discipline, trust with courage. Let your silence be filled with faith. Let your work be filled with excellence. Let your heart be filled with gratitude, because the loudest message you can ever send to your enemies is this: I refuse to become bitter. I choose to become better. And when you put God first, fear naturally takes the last place. So rise. Stay steady, stay silent when needed, and let your life speak so powerfully that even those who doubted you are forced to respect you. True success is not living loudly, it is living consciously, joyfully, and purposefully, and that is a voice no enemy can ever silence.